In the 19th century, Uganda was a colony under British rule. Education was seen as a tool to shape the minds, culture, and loyalty of the Ugandan population. The colonial government wanted to instill Western values, ideas, and knowledge in the Ugandan people. They believed that a Western-style education would civilize and modernize the Ugandan population. Controlling education meant that the colonial government could shape the future leaders of Uganda. Education became a means of indoctrinating Ugandans into the British colonial ideology. The colonial government aimed to create a loyal and compliant Ugandan population. They wanted to create a class of Ugandans who would serve the interests of the colonial administration. By controlling education, the colonial government could suppress indigenous knowledge and traditions. They aimed to marginalize local languages, customs, and practices in favor of British ideals. The colonial government believed that controlling education would facilitate their economic and political agenda. They saw education as a way to create an obedient workforce that could support colonial economic activities. The aim was to produce a generation of Ugandans who would be loyal to the colonial system. Controlling education also allowed the colonial government to maintain social and economic hierarchies. They could ensure that the children of the ruling elites were given privileged access to education. By controlling the curriculum, the colonial government could shape the narrative of Uganda's history. They aimed to create a version of history that favored British dominance and downplayed local achievements. The colonial government wanted to create a class of Ugandans who believed in the superiority of the British. Education became a tool for cultural assimilation, erasing local identities and replacing them with British ones. Controlling education meant controlling the flow of information and ideas within Uganda. They could limit the spread of dissenting views and ideologies that challenged colonial authority. The colonial government believed that educated Ugandans could be useful intermediaries between the local population and the colonial administration. By controlling education, they could groom a group of Ugandans who would be loyal to the colonial government. The colonial government aimed to create a system that would perpetuate its power and influence in Uganda. Through education, they wanted to ensure the continuity of British values and interests in the country. By controlling education, the colonial government sought to maintain a sense of superiority over the indigenous population. They believed that a Western-style education would make Ugandans feel inferior to their British colonizers. The colonial government wanted to create a class of Ugandans who would fulfill their vision for the country. Controlling education gave them the power to shape the future trajectory of Uganda in their own image. They saw education as a means of exercising control and maintaining their dominance over the Ugandan population.